So anyway, I attended a La Cienega Valley Association meeting. I was president for 15 years, and I'm now serve as the chairperson of the water subcommittee. And so we discussed PFAS at length, and the LCVA, La Cienega Valley Association, will be writing a letter to the county and to the New Mexico Environment Department to discuss moving forward as quickly as possible. And I think that's what really, I'm just going to kind of talk off the cuff here because I've had some experience and some knowledge about what's going on. My understanding, and Paul Choman, please, I think we've heard that there is a PFAS coordinator that's been hired. Is that correct, or is that still in process?
Carl, as I understand, that's still in process.
Okay, but there is the intent to hire someone, correct?
Yes, we do recognize that we need an expert involved in this, someone who is exclusive, I'll say, to contaminants such as PFAS, and we are working towards identifying that person and bringing them on board.
Do you have any sense of the time frame? Because I think that's what really concerns people is how quickly we can get this thing moving.
Yeah, I don't know. My boss, Brian's on vacation today and tomorrow. I know he's had conversations with Greg, and I'm supposed to write a letter to Brian about a plan for this, and I'm working on that today. So I hope I will have that done by tomorrow and have that in front of the county manager's office by early next week, and I think they will act very quickly.
That's great. That's good to hear. I mean, I think that's one of the things we've all been hoping for is to have a single source person that we can communicate and start getting moving. Now, the other thing is how quickly can we get wells tested? And that's one of those things that requires a process. New Mexico Environment Department has money that they're going to be able to give to the county for testing. Then you have to go through the procurement process in terms of selecting people who are going to be doing the testing. And this takes time, and I'm hopeful. And Paul, I don't know if this is possible, but if there's any way to expedite the procurement process to start getting wells tested would be something I think our group would like to support. So that's just something I think that I hope the county can consider. I think one of the things we want to talk about is writing to support the La Cienega Valley Association that the collaborative might consider writing a letter. And before I get too far ahead of this, let's go ahead and any questions, any concerns? I mean, we're all kind of in the dark about this. This is, and I made a presentation before the county commission on Tuesday. I represented the Water Policy Advisory Committee and mentioned PFAS, and it really is a national problem. It's not isolated to our area. That doesn't make it any better, any less scary, but it is one of those problems that has just kind of gotten out of hand. And so everybody is kind of scrambling to figure out how to deal with this. One of the things that needs to be done, and this is something that we're going to push the New Mexico Environment Department to do, they need to write a letter to the National Guard who created this problem to develop an abatement plan. And as we all know, bureaucracies don't move very quickly. But we're going to push every direction we can to get this thing taken care of. Having lived in La Cienega now for 40 years, I take this personally on some levels. Okay, let's stop for a second, and Jose would like to introduce himself. Is that right, Maury?
Oh, I was just inviting him to introduce himself in the chat since we're still trying to figure out his sound. Sorry for the interruption.
Okay. Yeah, I can tell you a little bit about Jose. He's a very, very adamant, emotional, strong leader. So anyway, all right. So let's get back to the abatement plan. I mean, that's one of those things where, if you know anything about New Mexico, what's happened in the Clovis, Alamogordo area as a result of PFAS is much more dramatic than it is here. levels are exceedingly high in some of those areas, much more than ours, which doesn't lessen the impact on us, because just because we have small amounts doesn't mean we don't have a problem. And so we are going to push the New Mexico Environment Department to get moving, to get that abatement plan from the National Guard. And then we need to do well testing. One of the things I want to find out, and Paul, maybe you can answer this, maybe you can, I don't know. But I'm wondering, if people get their wells tested now, can they get reimbursed for those costs later on? And so that's one of the questions that we're going to raise in terms of people who are spending a significant amount of money right now to get their wells tested. So I feel like I'm talking too much. Any questions or any things that I can address? Paul, you want to talk?
Yeah, I was just going to mention to you that whole process has not been defined yet. If people want to get their wells tested, of course they can. I was at the community meeting at Los Cienegos Community Center with you, Carl, a few weeks ago, and one of the ideas thrown out there was maybe a few neighbors that have wells in close proximity might want to combine and have one of those wells tested. So I'd want to have it tested to kind of share the cost. But as far as the actual procurement process or reimbursement, again, I hate to be evasive, but that's not yet been defined. We are working through that.
Okay, thank you.
Work through it.
Well, they west of it.
I'm having trouble hearing you. Patty? Okay, any comments, anything people want to say or? Yeah, go ahead, Darren.
A question, Carl. You mentioned the situation in other places in the state, particularly, I guess, around the military bases, right?
Yep.
Okay, so is what's been the reaction from DOD? Have they put forth an abatement plan, or what's been their response to those communities, DOD specifically? Was the first part of the question, so that we might be able to learn something for the second part of the question, which is, do you think National Guard is going to kick it straight to DOD and do hands off of it, say it's a DOD problem, or is there going to be some state jurisdiction where NMED can request some action from the state through the governor? I don't know exactly that relationship where she gets authority over them and is able to have them act independently of DOD, or are they going to hide under Uncle Sugar's apron, right?
Yeah, great questions. And one of those things where I think we really need to find out. I'm not sure what's happened in the Clovis area, other than I know that a lot of the dairy farms now have very sophisticated filtering systems on their water systems, and expensive ones too. So that's a great question, and one of the things we need to learn about. And you would think that the Environment Department would be a little more forthcoming. Maybe we should invite them to, well, I just had an idea, maybe a special PFAS meeting of the collaborative. We'll discuss that later on, but maybe we can do something that we really can make them come to the table and talk about these kinds of things, because we're kind of, whistling in the wind right now, because we all have kind of feelings and worries and concerns, and we're drinking bottled water at our house now. So it's not going away, and we need to get the professionals, the people who know what's going on to the table. And we will, as a collaborative and our other groups, will do everything we can to get them to meet with us. I was surprised actually that there wasn't a representative at it was actually at our breakfast when we had talked about PFAS. There was not a New Mexico Environment Department representative, although they were invited. So anyway, I want to hear from the residents. What do you think? You have ideas on what we can be doing? We're here to listen and to hear and to see what we can do to help you folks out. Kathleen? You're on mute. Yeah.
Thanks, Carl. Yeah. And I'm going to sort of tag it. Kathy Newman and I are
she's informed me on a few things. We're sort of tag teaming here with research and sharing a lot of information. And this, I know the city is not like deep pockets with lots of money, but I just wonder, thank you, Darren, for bringing in those good questions about the National Guard and DOD and who can we get help with as quickly as possible in mediating the real plume kind of area of this. And the idea of DOD is leasing from the city, so it's city-owned land. What's the city's responsibility? Does anyone know?
They are concerned. They are ready to assist. And I can't go into any details. I don't know any detail. I know that there are discussions going on, and they're going to be involved on whatever level is necessary to kind of deal with this. So I think they're going to be good partners. But again, this whole process has got to be better identified and figured out, and where do we go from here kind of stuff. So the city, and I'll make sure there are certainly a number of city representatives here today, which is really good. And I'm sure they'll carry the message back to their folks about what they've heard today. So, all right, and we got a question from Patty G.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I had my well tested and I got my results back. I live on Kaya Debra, and I got my results back day before yesterday, and I talked to Danette at In Depth, and she explained the results to me, and the PFAS are very high. She told me don't drink the water. We have already installed a filter in our well, and I have installed a reverse osmosis in my kitchen sink.
Wow.
I didn't wait because I have always questioned the sewage treatment plant. That's another problem we have here. The sewage treatment plant has to be leaking something into the Santa Fe River.
You just brought up a whole host of issues, and I can address that. Well, I'll do a little bit more in the next agenda item. But that has been an ongoing concern of the collaborative. The number of years that plan has been running, which is now over 60 years, and what it has done. And the wetlands were created about 25 years ago. And if you want the real quick history, is of course our forest guardians did it, but there was supposed to be a management plan. The intent was that wetlands would be used to help clean the river. And it can do that. Wetlands do that, but you have to have a wetlands that is maintained, and that wetlands has not been maintained. There was a management plan that was drawn up by the Santa Fe River Commission within a couple of years of the installation of the wetlands, and it died a political death and never saw the light of day. And I'm not sure what forces were against it, but it never happened. And so now we're looking at 25 years later, how we're going to address it. Now, to that remedy, to that solution is the fact that we have a lower Santa Fe water planning process that's beginning. And that will include doing some testing of both the soil and the water in that wetlands area, and addressing and figuring out how to address the problems that may have caused. And so that's not something that's going to happen next week, but we do have a process, and we'll talk more about it in the next agenda item. So that I understand that is a serious concern and something that we are concerned about. And it isn't just PFAS. There may be other things that we need to be concerned about as well.
Well, the guy that put in my system tested the water, and he says that there was high levels of lead and high levels of manure.
E. coli. Okay. All right, real quickly, I'm going to do that later on. I'll talk about the wastewater treatment plant later on. Okay, any other residents want to speak and talk?
I just really want to clarify right now before we go on with the conversation. The findings in the river, especially at the outfalls of the Paseo Real plant, the city would like everyone to believe it's manure, and it's the livestock producers downstream that are contributing to that E. coli, and that can't happen. So please don't accept that even the slight terminology that it's manure. It's unprocessed human waste. So an accumulation there by stagnated ponds that were unaddressed in that management plan, and that's our problem. Not manure, not flash grazing, not that. The E. coli is present from failures in that plant to treat the human feces that it's supposed to sanitize before returning that water to the Santa Fe River. So let's try and educate the test personnel that are out there in the field, unknowingly, attributing a certain causal relationship that is not the causal relationship that is of the main concern. So just to say that was an excuse for the city a long time ago was, oh, it's all manure. It's you guys and the manure in the river. That's where the E. coli is coming from. So just minor semantic thing there, but let's watch that as we go into the conversation.
Sounds good, Darren. And
Thank you, Darren.
And
Well, the guy that installed my well, he took a sample of the water to Albuquerque, and he's having it tested for bacteria. So that'll let me know what exactly is also in the water.
Okay.
Can I jump in here quickly? We were also among people who tested our wells along with our neighbors, Laura, McCann, and Mike. Partly because it struck me that we didn't know how long the city was going to take to do testing, and the more results we had earlier, the more pressure we could put on the city potentially, because 5 wells isn't really that many in terms of trying to pressure a large organization like a city government. We don't have our results back for the PFAS yet. It's due in about 10 days. We did get coliform and E. coli results. Our well tested positive for coliform and negative for E. coli, just as a matter of interest. But I actually wanted to ask, given that we're potentially we're able to work with these organizations and governments and governmental entities, but potentially we're also going to end up in an adversarial position towards the National Guard or the city or the county. What do people think about bringing in a pro bono, for the moment, attorney or somebody as another specialist to advise us? Is this something you guys do regularly? Do you already have somebody who listens in on these issues?
no, we do not. And again, we're not going to get into legal issues. That becomes an individual decision, and certainly something as a collaborative we wouldn't be able to support. We would be able. I take that back. I mean, we may be able to, but it's not something we're going to get into today because it's so kind of controversial at the moment. And so let's just see how things play out. Let's see if the government entities can do their job, and let's just keep pushing them to make it happen. And let's go from there. Okay, Zoe?
Hi, Carl. I guess I want to expand on what you just finished saying. And is there suggestions on very specific people and departments to write letters of concern to so that they can have a sense that we are aware, we are concerned, and we are awaiting action?
I think we can do that. I think we can identify people specifically that we should be writing letters to. Maury and I will work on that, and we'll share that information with everyone. Make sure that you're on our email list so we can get that information out. We will get you specific people to write to, and I think that's a great idea. So let's do that. Make sure that we're getting the message out as clearly and as broadly as we can. So thank you, Zoe. Any other questions, concerns?
Just in terms of, being a community member, we're at the southwest corner of the hydrologic zone in El Cañon. So we're between La Ciénaga and La Cieneguilla. And we are on hold because, well, for 28 years, we've been drinking bottled water because we are so far down, and it's a cattle grazing area. So we just thought to be safe to do that. So we're just on hold and waiting, but I wanted to put that in because we're at that corner place that's an important place in the hydrology.
Yeah. So a little history on the, not history, a little information on the hydrogeological area that La Cienega is in. It's pretty unique. If you know how the springs in La Cienega and La Cienega got formed, it was actually a result of volcanic activity of over 1 million years ago. There were two separate eruptions, but it basically created the La Bajada Mesa. And you can see to the west of La Cienega, you can see the basalt cliffs. And that what happens is water comes down from the mountain. And we used to think it had a direct shot. It actually goes through the El Dorado area, and then it heads our way. And it hits those basalt walls and gets pushed up. And what's interesting about our areas, there are like little channels and basalt canyons. And so it's going to be really interesting and somewhat tricky to start identifying which wells would be best to test and how quickly. That's one of the things I think we will ask for in the letter, is a hydrological study to identify which wells should be tested first. So we can get, the thing we want to do is get a handle on how much this is spread. And up until we do, and it's going to include test wells, and this process is not going to be quick. We're probably looking at a year to be able to get to a point where we have some sense of this. And I'm just guessing. I really don't know. Maybe we can push it quicker. But there's going to be the need for test wells, which take time and money. There's going to be the gathering of information, and we know I know El Rancho Los Colondrinos is getting their wells tested. So it'll be real interesting to see if there's an issue there, because that opens up a whole big door on this side of the valley, basically. So again, this is all in process. This is all stuff that we're going to continue to talk about and work on and figure out. But as someone who has, as I think County Commissioner Bustamante said, I've got my feet in two worlds, the city and county. And I can tell you from my perspective, having been involved in water issues for over 30 years, we're at a time now where it seems like there's going to be a whole lot more cooperation and collaboration between the city and county, which we welcome. One of the stories I always tell, this is many years ago, we had a water issue. So we went and saw the Mayor Cost at the time. And we're sitting there talking, and he got frustrated and finally looked at it and says, "I'm not the mayor of La Cienega, so basically go get out of here," kind of stuff. So that has changed. That is not the way things are now. My boss, John Dupuy, is absolutely committed to doing what we can from a city and a county perspective. He supports everything the county's doing. And so when you have that kind of leadership, I think there are opportunities to do things that we've been needing to do for a while, in all honesty. I can't tell you how many years the collaborative has been talking about water testing, well testing. It's nice to talk about those things, but until you have the resources and the support to do those kind of things, it's just talk. And now there's going to be action. And unfortunately, it's taken this kind of a disaster to make that happen, but we'll get it taken care of. And so anyway, any other things from the folks?
Yes,
Jose Villegas, there he is, the one and only.
Hola, buenos días de la Dios, and blessings to each one of you. Sorry about the. I had to rush.
Have you been able to hear us?
I've been on the interstate with law enforcement on duty. I had to
Okay.
get myself to my house.
Okay.
Here to my chante, so I'm here at home safely. Watch out with the roads out there, people. But I've been chiming in and out about the conversation, people, and one thing for sure I want to bring out and share with one of you or all of you is that listen to the subject matter experts that are out there that are basically zero for me, because yes, I'm an emotional person. Yes, I have a lot of passion for my love, for my community, for my family. But I can tell you one thing, that if you're gonna talk the talk, talk the talk. And right now, what's going on with that issue with PFAS, there's a lot of souls out there who are becoming subject matter experts, and they're dismissing the issue. They are actually dismissing the issue, and like our county commissioner said at the last meeting, I don't want to get emotional on this one, man, because when she said that the PFAS is everywhere, it's in your clothes, it's in your food, it's in your rugs, it's in your carpet, so forth and so on. But I'll tell you what, you come to my house and come and drink my water. You come to my house and drink my water and come and wash your ass with this PFAS. Bottom line. And then you tell me, take your blood test, take that PFAS blood test, and then tell me what those results come out. If it's positive, if it's negative, and then here we go again with the subject matter experts. Oh, it's just a little bit of PFAS in your blood, and you're not going to die. Okay. That's how serious the stuff is. So when you talk about the city and the county working together, collaboration about the topic of PFAS, we haven't even talked about E. coli or the wastewater facility or DOD, so forth and so on. We're talking about PFAS. We're not talking about the PFAS that's in your clothes, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We're talking about three major compounds, which is the foam, the firefighting foam that was used at the DOD site there at the National Guards and the municipal airport. That's what I'm talking about. So it's impacted my family. So what am I doing? Am I waiting for someone to speak for my family, speak for myself? I tell you what, La Cienega Valley Association does not speak for my family, does not speak for my family, my colleagues, my neighbors that live here. Bottom line, I don't need to write a letter to the city or the county to tell them, hey, this is what you want, this is what we're going to do, while they're sitting on their nargas doing zero, waiting for them to bring us filters, waiting for them to bring us water sampling. Who's going to pay for that? All those questions that they're throwing at the city and the county. Give us a say. What are they going to do? Nada, zero. In the time being, it's us, the people that live here, that have to do all the research. Who's going to fight DOD, the Department of Defense? What's going on in Clovis? What's going on with Holloman? What's going on with Kirtland's Air Force Base on the issue of PFAS? So what is the environment doing? The Environment Department doing? Everybody's, not everybody, but what I'm dealing with right now with my family, I represent my family, my neighbors, my good neighbors. I give a rat's about my people. I don't need sympathy. I still haven't gotten a glass of water from my boss. Who's my boss? It's a National Guard. It's a General Aguilar. He's my boss. I'm in the military. I serve at the National Cemetery doing burials. What has he done for me and my family? Not even a glass of water. So you want to talk about the issue at hand? This collaborative ain't gonna cut it for me, because this is the first time, Carl, by all respects, this is the first time I've been invited to attend this thing since this has been an exception. And then give me the history about Forest Guardians, when they came in and they did their little planting of their trees, and then they're talking about the beavers and save the beavers. I get it. But as a tribal member of a tribal nation, I had to throw in my tribal nation to get things going with the federal government to get an answer. I didn't need to go to the La Cienega Valley Association to come and save my family. I don't think so. But said that, I'm in the discussion here. I'm not going to participate with this discussion on PFAS, with this collaboration, because it's the issue about trust. You don't burn the bridge. And then when people say, hey, Jose, it's over it's under the bridge or above the bridge, and, forget about history, nothing has to do with land grants or nothing has to do with community. I don't want to go there. I just want you to know that, it's impacting our people. People are hurting. People are hurting. And I tell you what, and I'm going to tell you what my business is about my blood test that I just recently got. No, I'm not going to tell you what my business is. It's none of your business there, La Cienega Valley Association. It's a HIPAA issue. I got to deal with it. You know, if it comes back that it's positive, and it's that molecule, the membrane of that chemical in my sangre, in my blood, who's going to save me? Who's going to tell me? And who's going to tell my wife, hey, your husband just got cancer? That was one of the issues, you know. Is the Cienega Valley Association going to save my ass? I don't think so. And you know what? I apologize for the language, but you know what? I have a right to be mad. You know, I've been living here 48 years. Don't cut me off. Do not cut me off. I've been living here 48 years, and I my family. You know, did you know, people? Did you know here in La Cienega, here in the heart by the Capilla de San Antonio, we have had 11 deaths, all of cancer. 11 deaths of our family and friends and people that live here. 11 deaths because of cancer. What does that mean with PFAS, right? We're CDC on this one. But I'm just saying, I apologize if no, I'm not apologizing. I'm just saying, I feel it. And if you feel me, please get a hold of me. And I'll share with you what I know. I'll share with the research and analytical scholarly work. That's my background, by the way, like everybody else brags about their background. I will share that with you. God bless you all. I got to go back on duty, back on the interstate. Be good, be safe. I'm out of here.
Jose, thank you. We respect your decision. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Okay, other questions? Go ahead.
I think Mr. Vaca was wanting to speak before. Was that right?
Yes, if I could. You know, I hear everything that Jose is saying, and I concur with him. All of us are very, very wondering what's going on. But the thing is this is a big domino effect. You know, even though you're not drinking this water, you're using it to shower, you're using it to use the restroom, whatever, and it's going in our septics. But yet, the city of Santa Fe, they come and they clean out our septics and they take it to the sewer plant. And now they have all this PFAS in the sewer plant, and it's going downstream again and going back in the purple water where they go and water their golf courses and whatever else. And we also have horses, cows, dogs, cats, whatever, and we all got to watch. We can't be giving them that much bottled water, but we will if we love them, right? We'll do what we can. Something's got to be done. The next thing is environmentalists. We got to know, is there environmentalists involved with this? Because they should be checking this and checking the sewer plant also, and being involved with what's going on with the National Guard. And the other thing is, I see that every time that we want to be informed of anything, we never get a note. So we don't know when the meetings are. Not everybody's getting them. They should be going. There's a lot of people, elderly people, that you probably got to go put notes on their doors or in their mailboxes so they can be informed, so they can go to these meetings. And then we have to have some tailgate meetings and inform everybody where to go for these meetings. Because right now, what I've been doing, I've been finding out from word of mouth from people so I can attend these meetings. I think there has to be some sort of a platform to letting people know where the meetings are at and when. That's all. Thank you.
No, I agree with that. I think there needs to be better communication without question. So I think that's really important. Any other comments on PFAS?
I do. So the frustration with working with the city and the county, and Carl, you're right, you know, it's better than it's been, but and I've said this before in meetings, which is to work with the media. I really think that articles about this need to be done. And, you know, either the New Mexican or the Reporter or both of them. And because that gives the politicians a kick in the butt where they really feel it, you know, and it's when there's publicity that's not great. And other folks are aware of what's going on downriver. This is a way to do it. So that's it.
All right, I'm gonna move agenda item 3 up to talk about it now, and it's the wastewater treatment plant. Because I've become very familiar with it recently. It's a broken down plant. It's sometimes referred to as a Frankenstein plant because it's just been pieced together over the years. And it's fallen apart. One of the biggest things, reason there are high E. coli levels in the river right now is because of a failing UV system. That's one of the sanitizing mechanisms that's used. It's light, and it's an old system, so it is not functioning the way it's supposed to be, and it can't be fixed. It can be patched, and that's all they're trying to do right now is patch it, because the manufacturer no longer provides parts, and it's not doing what it's supposed to be doing. The estimate to replace it is somewhere in the range of $15 to $20 million, and it will take up to 2 years. And what the city has done to try to mitigate the problem with E. coli is they're installing what they call a chlorinate dechlorinate system. You are not allowed to put chlorinated water into a river system. So they have to chlorinate it first, kill the bacteria, then dechlorinate it, and then they put it into the river. Sounds silly, doesn't it? But one of the problems with that, just as they were about to start this process, they had an aerator, one of their big aerator systems went down, and one of the stainless air feeds busted. And what happens, it's like a cascading effect. So if they're not doing their job, by the time it gets to the UV thing, it can't do its job, and then you can't use the chlorinate dechlorinate process. And so they are working right now to get those two issues fixed. They are redoing the piping. The aerator is still, it's going to take a little bit of time, but they should be able to start the chlorinate dechlorinate process pretty soon. But the bottom line is we need a new plant. And I think that is what everybody is ready for. John Dupuy, week before last, made a presentation to the city council to talk about the idea of a new plant. And he was surprised, I think, on some level, when none of the councilors were concerned about the cost. And we're looking at about $320 million for a new plant. Not cheap, but needed. And there is federal funding available, and so that's what we're going to pursue. But you're looking at a process that will take somewhere between 3 and 5 years, and that's the fast track. And we'll do everything we can to fast track it. But look forward to a day, and I wish it were today, that there's going to be a decent wastewater treatment plant, and there's going to be hopefully a supplemental cleaning system that we're hoping to include in that package, which would be a constructed wetlands, not the wetlands like we have now, but a construction maintained wetlands that would really become a park. It's been done in other cities, and it's certainly something we can do here. And again, the frustration is absolutely felt. I mean, I think when John took the job, which is just a little bit over a year now, of the public utilities director, I don't think he knew exactly how needing repairs the plant was. I mean, it's like every time you fix something, something else is going to break down. And it's really kind of interesting because it is a mix of this high-tech technology, and you can look at the panels and you can figure out what's going on in different parts of the plant. And then you walk through the UV system and it looks like it's, one of the gentlemen that works there said it was one of the original UV systems from 35, 40 years ago. And so it certainly has gone beyond its prime. And so there are things in the works. We will keep you posted about what's going on in the plant. And that's actually a responsibility I have, is to make sure to keep the community informed as to what's going on in the plant. So if you ever have any questions about the wastewater treatment plant, please feel free to contact me and I'll get your answer as quickly as possible. I can tell you that there are a lot of people working at that plant. They're doing their best to keep it doing what it's supposed to be doing, but it is an ongoing frustration and challenge to maintain a plant that's just hasn't been maintained well. It's one of those things, if you look back on time, there were opportunities in the past when they probably should have made the decision to put in a new plant sooner than now. But we're here now and we'll do it as quickly as possible as long as we can get the political will. And one of the things that we really have as a collaborative and other groups have supported is making this a county city project, not just a city project, because we think, number one, there are going to be people that could benefit from communities that may be able to access the wastewater treatment system, which would be a good thing, especially now with our concerns. And so, yeah, so it's on its way. Again, it's not going to be fast. It's going to take a whole heck of a lot of money. It's amazing how much money these things cost. But it is going to happen. And so look forward to someday, hopefully in not too far future, where we won't have to be having these discussions about what's going on in the river anymore. Or at least we'll have a better handle of what's happening with it.
How many sewer plants are in Santa Fe? Because this is very bad, poor planning. You see all these buildings coming around Santa Fe and all these people coming in, and their sewer has to go somewhere and it's going to a broken down plant. And then we're having to deal with it downstream.
It's not fair. It's not right. Go ahead, Paul.
I'm done. That's it.
I was just going to mention that the Santa Fe County has a new, by that I mean about a year and a half old since it's been commissioned, water reclamation facility on the state of New Mexico penitentiary grounds. So that's the newest plant. There are a few others in some various communities along the I-25 corridor, Oshara Village, La Pradera, places like that have their own. Mr. Warren Thompson with Rancho Viejo has a plant also. And I just want to mention that the Sale Real facility that we're referring to, that Carl's been referring to repeatedly here, is the one that is the oldest and needs the most attention. And I appreciate your involvement with that project, Carl.
It's the one that discharges directly into the Santa Fe River as well. Can I ask you, I guess, Paul, what the where the outfalls or the discharges are from them other plants?
Yeah, sure. So Oshara and La Pradera were designed around the concept that they would be using their water and reuse for irrigation for their common areas and with some of the properties and such. For example, Oshara Village was designed around the idea that there are no outside faucets on those houses. So they use the water, reclaimed water through what they call a purple pipe network that goes back into the community and services it. At the water reclamation facility, Santa Fe counties, they're in the penitentiary grounds. That product is dumped into an effluent pond and monitored, tremendously well regulated against a new plant, new technology. And so that water goes into a holding pond. And if I could just elaborate on that a little bit, what we are trying to do at the county is to set up a bulk water station there for use by commercial customers. You know, if you're grading a road or doing a construction project or building a subdivision or something, you don't need potable water for that. And we're trying to set up and we have a plan to set up a bulk water station that commercial customers can come and use that water for those purposes.
Okay, meanwhile, bigger picture for all my friends and neighbors up and down the Santa Fe River is that amidst all of this, you know, the collaborative originally started out as it's named, as a congregation of traditional communities along the Santa Fe River. And as Carl frequently mentions, the good thing about this group is that we have this interface between staff from city and county. And that relationship has developed even, you know, closer and over the years longer to where now we even have members that are in the city mechanism, right? So that affords us this degree of access. And when we talk about political will, we always have to worry about translating that into the mechanics of getting these implementation, right? So what I specifically want to do is encourage, especially when we have an upstanding member of the community throw his hands up in frustration, which is legitimate frustration, and walk out of the forum, right? Is particularly Mr. Sedevaca, please be a conduit for your vecinos there and get your address to Maury so that we can continue to have some information. Remember, we suffered about 3 years worth of lack of good community meetings and progress on these issues because of the pandemic, and having to move to this very format, which is not really equitable for a lot of people in traditional communities. It's tough to get linked up to even be present with you in this format, and that's a challenge that we face. But this collaborative is the existing mechanism that has the access, where if we can involve more of the gente that are having these interests and be able to present that unified voice in doing things like requesting attention to federal funding and disbursement back to the state and the city for management of this big issue that we formed around and that continues to be in front of us, is mitigation and management. And we're not just talking about mitigation of drought anymore. We have to be very upfront in this conversation about what we're talking about is what the city infrastructure is telling us is going to be the future of that plant for a return flow credit pipeline, so that water quality now is a concern because of the quality being returned to the Rio Grande for paper water credit, as opposed to being, should be the primary concern of water quality being a human right for the members of the traditional communities below the Paseo Real plant. Okay, so now that we're talking about the potential for a 50% reduction in flow back into the Santa Fe River, that was initially the big drive for mitigation. What is that doing to our traditional communities and the riparian environment that we are a part of, right? So I just really need to encourage everyone to, even if you think you're on some mailing list, resubmit your information to Maury so that we can continue on this, especially now as we just take or put the training wheels on maybe a lower river mitigation plan that has those things to consider. And now that has this other more immediate threat, this PFAS threat that is another tangible health concern. Maybe not maybe more tangible than the previous concerns the communities have had over the last 10 years about accumulation of pharmaceuticals, not just accumulation of stagnant, untreated waste. So please stay involved here. If nothing else, use this as a place to get information, but to rally your neighbors around so that we can approach the county and city. You see, we have them both here together, but then so we can also jump on their backs and go and approach the feds so we can get some action on all of this infrastructure and water money that's out there. And I see DOI making specific appropriations to tribes, but the traditional communities are not being targeted by reclamation for that type of funding and preservation and stewardship and riparian conservation efforts. So hopefully that's what this collaborative can do. I don't think that this is maybe forum a clearinghouse for litigious action. I don't think litigation is where we're going. There are some heavy hitters in this collaborative that have significant experience in environmental litigation and that kind of thing. So also use that for when they show up, touch base with them later and say, how about you guys want to talk to our community or what? But then, and that maybe that's how we get past some of the longstanding trust or lack of trust issues. But very important to, I think, be here now and in the near future, because we do have some levers of the whole machine very close to within our reach. So please stay involved here, and but the picture is complex. But the bigger picture is now we're talking about managing a riparian environment that's going to lack 50% of uninterrupted flow, supporting that as the water table depletes and this and that. So hope you're not overwhelmed, because there's a lot of work before our communities to do together, a lot of collaboration that still has to be done. So thanks for being here this morning.
Thank you. There's been a request that we kind of speed up things and have some action items for some of this. So I think what I would suggest is we have kind of an executive committee of the collaborative, and I would suggest that we get our get together, come up with a letter and the contacts that people have requested, and then submit that letter for your review or your use if you'd like. But I think that's what we're looking at right now. It's just basically petitioning the powers to be to get moving quickly. And I think that if we get enough people asking them to do that, that maybe we can get something going. Is that okay, Antoinette? I think you're the one that wanted the action items, right?
Yeah, I just was hoping if there are more people we can email and we should, how many people should be reaching out to? I mean, this sounds like the letter from the collaborative group is going to be very powerful because it's so well connected already into the city and county government. But if individual citizens can help leverage it by sending more emails out into, not form letters, I'm more than happy to help take part in that. I just am so new to this area. I don't know what the best strategy is, and I don't want to start by stepping on toes either in a way that would be counterproductive.
That's a good strategy, and something that we will provide you all of the email addresses of folks that you should contact. Certainly your county commissioners, but other staff people at the city and at the county to contact and express your concerns. So we will get you that information by Monday. By next Monday, we'll have that information for you. I'll work it on the weekend.
Could I interject real quick?
The bottom line is the mayor doesn't give a damn about people on this end of the city because we're not his people. So they've known about this problem for many, many, many years. The plant has not been working right. And they do nothing about it, just like they messed up our roads. They don't give a damn about us. And if they did, they would have done something about it a long time ago.
I agree. Paul, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I just wanted to address the point that was made earlier. One letter signed by 50 people would carry a lot more weight than 50 individual requests. So kind of like a lack of a better term, a declaration of independence or a declaration of emergency, whatever you want to call it. But I would prefer that because that way we can say, look, hey, we have this one document, everybody's in agreement, and here's 50, 60, whatever, 20, 50 signatures on it. That would carry a lot more weight as far as things go within the county. And that's just speaking from the county's perspective. So I would suggest that if that can be arranged. Feel free, anybody, to reach out. I am a public servant. I work for the constituents of Santa Fe County. Anytime you have a question or whatever, please do reach out. At the same time, if a single document can be drafted, everybody agrees on it, it's consistent in its messaging, that would be very, very helpful and carry a lot of weight.
Will do. And one of the things I'm going to do too is I'm going to bring this before the Pipeline Coalition. For those of you that don't know, it's an organization of 20 group of 20 organizations, associations, individuals that have gotten together to address the lower Santa Fe watershed issues. And it's one of the things that we always brag about. It's one of those times when we have the Asaki Association and the Wild Earth Guardians on the same team, which is just nice to see. But that's how concerned we all are about what's going on below. So I'm having internet connection issues, so I apologize if I start blanking out. So any other questions about the wastewater treatment plant? And I, again, will be the source of information. If you have questions or concerns, let me know. I can tell you right now, it will fail again. There'll be problems again, and we'll continue to try to fix them as quickly as we can. And looking at the long view of having a new plant that we don't have to worry about anymore. So anything more about the wastewater treatment plant?
Are they actually being fined for per day now because they're not up to par?
I have no idea. Darren says no.
There's not been any effective enforcement except notations of the outstanding violations of Environmental Protection Agency of their discharge permit, their pollution elimination discharge permit. And they keep applying for that, and that speaks to a lack of enforcement by our own state. Our state's one of, I think, only 3 left in the country that have abdicated their authority over the water quality to federal enforcement and standards. So that's a longer term goal that we can pursue with the Environment Department and with our state representatives and legislature to get the role of that department changed or get their policy guided towards something stricter. But at the moment, yeah, we have unenforced federal regulation that's happening there, and an outstanding, again, Bureau of Reclamation report that shows that, diversion of this water out of the lower river and over to the Rio Grande is a good idea for Santa Fe's continued development interests. And so the problem here is that was maybe second on the list of available options for reuse of that water. But it was considered too expensive and too burdensome on the existing infrastructure to make total reuse of that water go back into the Santa Fe River and have it take its natural course through the alluvial plain back to the Rio Grande. So, and you can ask Bobby how that all goes. Like she says, she's walked it all the way to the confluence. And so the important thing to do is to not lose track of the fact that, yes, I'm glad you brought up the Pipeline Coalition, Carl, because that's an outstanding political issue that has this on the ground impact on us, especially when we're looking at planning for the preservation of our traditional communities and clean water sources. You're taking 50% of that flow away out of that riparian system. That changes the entering arguments for what you're starting. What are you mitigating now? You're mitigating a self-induced drought on top of other things, right? So it's important to remember that coalition exists, and that the one thing I would just like the collaborative to keep in mind on is that the Bureau of Reclamation findings about reuse feasibility need to be reconsidered. They need to be reconsidered while the environmental assessment is still going on for that project, because it has not just ripple effects, it has direct causal effects to other issues that are going on in the Santa Fe River, including water level table, including contaminants in the outflow, and what we can or can't do with a wetland, more bio remediation type element to the treatment that comes out of the waste from the city.
Well, the state comes out in the newspaper all the time saying they have an abundance of money. You would think they would want to take care of the city. The governor, the mayor should be looking towards this, so we won't have to tell them how to do that. I don't know what else they're doing, but I will tell you this. I worked at a sewer plant up in Los Alamos, and we recycle the water. Plus, there's something that maybe they should talk to Los Alamos and see how they do it, because I know they have another plant there, and they recycle the water. They clean it so well that they have to dirty it. So I would think that there is a process. They use a reverse osmosis up there also. This is something that I would think the city would want to look into, because I know it works. I worked there for 40 years. I know it works, and I just think that people just need to look at it like DOE, the government. You have a problem at a wastewater plant in Los Alamos, they're on it. They're finding you. You're on it. They're taking care of it. Right. We have a problem over here. It has to deal with all the people in Santa Fe, New Mexico, I'll say, and it seems like they're dragging their feet. I don't know where they're paying attention to, but right now the most important thing we have in this world is water and air, right?
Yep.
But can survive.
I agree.
I'll tell you what, if I may, and it's not to be too much more of a history lesson, but part of this is because the discussion has changed so much. It's only in the last maybe 10 years that the city has not been looking at the discharge of the Paseo Real treatment plant as just a source of non-potable water for things like irrigation of golf courses and this and that, or using as an accumulated swamp to what eventually became the vision of, so you can have beaver ponds for school kids to go hang out with a bunch of sick rodents and maybe learn something, right? So the point now is that the thinking about the purpose of that plant has only recently changed. For a long time, it was never thought about the quality. The traditional communities weren't thought about. The gente was not thought about what type of water we were getting, because the product that they were getting out of that plant was used exactly for that, for a bulk water supply facility. Come up with your truck and go water the campanas while you build it, and then come up with your truck and go water over here while you build it, and then keep the dust down. And then meanwhile, you dry up the river for the acequias that are downstream of that plant. Right. So important to keep that in mind is you're exactly right. They haven't given a damn about the people down here. The only reason it is now is because they have a duty to provide quality water if they want to use it for a swap, to divert it out of the Santa Fe River and put that back in the Rio Grande for paper credit.
Yep. So does everybody understand the pipeline? What the purpose is, the return flow pipeline? Return flow pipeline is to be able to pump water up to the Rio Grande at the Buckman diversion. And that will allow them, through the Office of the State Engineer decision, to pull more water out of the river. And having grown up on the Rio Grande River in Los Ranchos and outside of Albuquerque, that wouldn't be a bet I would make, but that's a whole different issue. So any other questions about the wastewater treatment plant? So the next thing on the agenda is the Lower Santa Fe Watershed planning process. And this is something that we've been doing now for over 2 years. And this is the Pipeline Coalition kind of led this. The Pipeline Coalition basically was created as a result of the city-county agreement or contract on the pipeline, return flow pipeline. The county is I think has 7% or 8% of the projects, and the rest is paid for by the city. And the Pipeline Coalition was created to respond to that and to talk about what happens when there is that 50% reduction in flow in the river. And we came up with an RFP, which I thought was pretty defined and well organized. We recently, within the last 6 months, the county has hired a facilitator, Deborah Anya Ibe, and she is proceeding. We've had, from a community's perspective, we've had some trouble communicating with, and Paul, this will be new to you, but we've had some trouble communicating with Deborah Anya Ibe. And now we're a little bit concerned that with Michelle Hunter leaving, who's going to oversee Deborah's activity, basically. And a couple of us, the few of us met, and then we came up with an idea that we would like to, and Paul, this would be the first time you hear it. But we were wondering if the Santa Fe County Water Policy Advisory Committee would be able to take on that role. And what we would do, it wouldn't necessarily be the committee, it would be a subcommittee of the committee that would be able to draw people from different areas to be able to help support Ms. Anya Ibe's work. But right now what we're dealing with, she did a survey mid-October. And just recently from her administrative assistant, we got another survey, which we just viewed as the same one that we'd seen before. So we were a little confused about why we were getting a second survey, but we'll send that out and get people to respond. But it gets a little complicated to try and explain why we're sending out the same survey. So I think the idea of having and this would take some of the heat off you, Paul, I think too, given that you're a little short-staffed right now, we could help you out. But I think there's enough interest of people both on the Water Policy Advisory Committee and people within this group and within the Pipeline Coalition that certainly would like to ensure that what we're doing with the Lower Santa Fe Watershed planning process is something that what's the intent of what we're meant to do. And Maury, I'm going to let you talk a little bit because at the county commission meeting, I brought up this idea briefly and immediately was told, well, it's got to fall within the basically guidelines of the committee. And I think you did an excellent analysis of how it absolutely fits into the tasks that are required of the committee. So could you share that with us? Did I catch you by surprise?
Sure. Let me see if I can just pull up
The email?
the outline of the goals of the committee, I guess. The tasks of the WPAC include making recommendations on water issues to the BCC, assisting the county in addressing proposed aquifer storage and recharge activities and projects, exploring the concept of a regional water authority, making recommendations on drought management, and recommending updates to the county's ordinances, policies, and plans related to water issues. So when Carl sent those tasks or that task list to a couple folks, it seemed, I don't have a lot of background in that committee particularly, but it seems like this lower watershed planning process is directly related to all of those tasks, and that it seems like it could be a perfect alignment for WPAC to really focus on supporting the completion of this plan and making sure that it is completed in a way that can make recommendations to the BCC, assist the county in aquifer storage and recharge initiatives, promoting the concept of a regional water authority, making recommendations on drought management, and making sure that it is informing future and updates to the county ordinances, policies, and plans related to water issues. I think that it's really important that the findings that this plan highlights need to be incorporated into actual governance to make sure that communities are supported and that things actually happen. And we hear too many times how plans end up sitting on the shelves, and so none of us want to see that happening.
Thank you, Maury. And Paul, we'll do a more formal application for this purpose, but it does make sense to us. And we have invested a lot, especially in the last couple of years, in making sure that we have a plan that we can all basically be proud of. And in that plan, there are a number of kind of initiatives that hopefully we can restore some of the water that we've lost over the years. And so that's something I think is very important. Now, there's two things that before the county commission, and this, as you might expect, this came from a good friend of mine, Commissioner Bustamante, is that one, they want deliverables. They want to be able to measure what we're doing, what the Water Policy Advisory Committee is doing. And I think there's a way that you can do that. You can show them this is where we're headed and this is how we're going to get there. And when we're done, this is what you'll see, kind of stuff. And so I think that's not a problem. The bigger issue is that we don't, out of 12 members that are supposed to be on the committee, we only have 5 right now. And so that one of the things I think we're going to do both be with the collaborative and with the coalition is start to recruit members. And I've gone through and identified which members that we need. It's pretty interesting because we need a member from the mutual domestic, which we don't have right now. From the Soil and Water Conservation District, we have Shan Stringer is the representative. For the acequias, it's JJ Gonzalez. We don't have a member from the Estancia area, planning area. We don't have and this is where it gets kind of vague, central planning area. We don't have a member from that area. We don't have a member from the northern planning area. And we're supposed to have a member from the BDD board, which should be interesting. And then we don't have members from districts 4 and 5. Emily Wolf represents District 1, Ken Kirk represents District 2, and I represent District 3. So if you're in District 4 or 5, please consider that's Anna Hamilton and Hank Hughes's districts. If you're interested, let us know. We will do a formal recruitment with the collaborative membership. But we need to fill those positions with people who understand water issues. And so that's what we'll do that. But I just want to put that out there. Again, this will be something that will be included in our email to the collaborative membership, explaining where people might be able to fit in. And I have to tell you, I had this, and I wish Francesca was still on the line. Her power went out at her house. Francesca, I worked with her, and she lives in Edgewood. So I had this, we've had a real problem in getting Edgewood involved. And I'm going, oh, great, I can get her. She's going to do it. So I went and talked to her yesterday, and she damned if she doesn't live right on the border. She's not in Santa Fe County. She's like on the other side of the border in, I think, either Torrance or Bernalillo County. So I couldn't grab her to be part of this. She had been a great addition. So anyway, we're going to actively recruit, figure out how to fill up our committees so that we can get going on things. And I think that's really important. So I really think that at this particular moment in time, that we need this kind of a authority, power, and it's got to be made up of people like us to be involved in that committee. So look forward to any consideration you might have about being a part of that committee. Okay, let's go to Maury's report on the Santa Fe Watershed Association. What's going on?
Oh, I can make this pretty brief, but I think most relevant to this group, two main things. One is that I think since our last meeting, I got appointed to the Land Development Code Citizen Advisory Working Group for the city's Land Development Code update. And so my hope is that I can help be on the front lines of advocating for stormwater related issues related to land development, the Land Development Code update. So that includes redevelopment, it includes parking lots, and I've learned that there's even some adjacency to streets and things like that, and the city is using this Chapter 14 update as a springboard for their full general plan update. And so, of course, as we all on this call know, the general plan for the city of Santa Fe has major implications for how we all interact with water. And so myself and the Santa Fe Watershed Association, we're doing what we can to advocate for green stormwater infrastructure being incentivized as a water conservation bonus, as well as just, protecting our landscapes from flooding and erosion. So I will try to keep everyone informed about kind of where the process is going and share whatever I can share so that folks can give comment to the code as it continues to be updated. If you have opinions or expertise on specific parts of the code, but I think this is a really good opportunity for us to get involved first with the Land Development Code and then stay involved as the general plan continues to be updated. I know it's a little bit wonky, but the Land Development Code, for example, it was last updated 20 years ago. And so it's a really important way that we can scale a lot of what we want to see happen in terms of land development, redevelopment, and help scale back or prevent things that we've seen in the past that we don't want to see moving forward. So that's something for the city that I'm hoping to advocate for. And the other thing is that I'm trying to use my voice and the voice of the Watershed Association to advocate however we can as the city continues their master planning process for the wastewater treatment plant, to advocate that in this plan and in future implementation, that community outreach and transparency to downstream users specifically is included in the day-to-day operations of the plant. Because I think in some of the conversations that I've had with city staff, that's just, something that is kind of nobody's job right now. And it's becoming a little bit of Carl's job, fortunately. But, just like Mr. Sidabaca was saying, like there's nobody going to people's doors telling them what's going on. There's nobody sending out emails or calling folks to tell them what's going on when water quality is good, when it's bad. And so as part of this master planning process, I'm hoping that we can get that into the actual operational systems of the plan. And so that's something that I'm really trying to advocate for, because we all need that transparent data. I think it really benefits everybody. So also as part of that, it enables us to all be engaged in future planning processes and furthering that connection between, city, county, communities, because the water is what connects all of us. So we're not on the legal side of things, but we're trying to, be this connector, trying to take advantage of this time where, a lot of things are in crisis to help really shift things and make sure that more folks are included and that the systems themselves get more transparent and collaborative. So I'm excited to keep the conversation going with all of you on that front as well. And on a lighter note, if it looks like it's snowing really hard at my house right now, but if you've got 4-wheel drive and you happen to find yourself near downtown Santa Fe later this afternoon, we're having a little holiday party at Edition 1 Gallery on Canyon Road. So y'all are welcome to stop by and have a cookie or some hot chocolate and say hi and talk with us more. But we'll have more gatherings, and again, whatever ideas you have to help us be more of service to our entire watershed, my ears and my inbox are always open. So thank you.
Thank you, Maury, very much. Okay, we're about to end this, folks. Any last minute matters from the public? Any concerns? Real quick, you want to know how many wells there are in Santa Fe County? 12,000. 2,000 within the city limits, another 10,000 outside the city limits. And I would bet that over half of those have been in the last 20 years. So when we have that what I'm trying to get at is the conservation efforts that the city makes are really impressive. We've got to push that outside of the city limits and get people with wells to understand there's things that they can do to conserve water, to use it differently. And if you've got a little arroyo running through your place, let it slow down. Put a little, little dikes in there, a couple of them, and just slow the water down. That will help the aquifer. And my biggest thing, which is the crusade I've had for a number of years now, is that we in La Cienega have suffered from serious flood events. 5 years ago was a really bad one. And the reason that happens is the water is coming so quickly. It has nowhere to go but channel right through the Arroyo Hondo. The Arroyo Chamizo joins up the Arroyo Hondo just before it gets to La Cienega. And so my thought is there's an area across 599, it's owned by Peter Comas. I think maybe 100 acres or so, But both of those arroyos go through that. So that to me would be a perfect place to slow the water down, push it, spread it out. It would replenish the aquifer. We could make an incredible park. I mean, what Maury was referring to is Tucson has done some amazing things with their flood management and stormwater controls. And so those are the kind of things we'd like to replicate in our area, just as a way to help the aquifer, and prevent floods. And the same thing with the Santa Fe River. I mean, those are the two main where water goes, is in either the Santa Fe River or the Arroyo Hondo as it comes out of the city. And as there are more apartment complexes and more pavement and more of those kinds of things, and more water heads our direction. And so we want to slow it down and make use of it. So any other things? Go ahead.
Are you referring specifically to stormwater and runoff, or
Yes. Yes.
yeah? I just got to be clear that you don't interfere with the Parciantes downstream for their right to irrigate.
Not at all. Not at all. We're going to help you. We're going to increase the water coming out of the springs and push more water down the La Bajada.
Amen.
You know, I've got a 5-step plan to do that. So we'll see if that ever comes to be. You think I'm crazy, I know, but I got an idea. I got some ideas.
I do think you're crazy, but you have good ideas. Okay.
All right. Anything else today, folks? And really Laura McCain. Hi. I didn't realize you were here. Are you willing to speak? Maybe not. Anyway.
Hello. Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes. I just wanted to recognize you. I didn't notice you were here till just now.
Thank you. I didn't join until a little after the start time. I'm in the car, but I've been listening in. I think it's been a really good conversation, and I'm glad to hear all the factors have been related to the group, and glad that we're all coming together. Hope that we can continue to do so to resolve some of these issues.
Laura, can you remind me what your position is?
In terms of this matter?
Yeah.
I am a community member. That is all. I live in Las Miguel.
Okay.
That is all. That's all there is to it. Yeah.
All right, folks.
Yes.
Thank you so much. We meet again in 2 months. And I think we will consider the possibility of a special PFAS collaborative meeting if we can get the right people to attend. So we'll keep you posted on that. Well, I think that's kind of a priority in my mind to see if we can't do this again with just a complete and total focus on PFAS. All right, folks, thank you so much. Maury, thank you, and the Watershed for continuing to support our efforts. Everybody have a great day. Thank you.
Thanks all.
Thanks, everybody.